Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the CMC Show, Candid Melanin Conversations. I'm your host, Anthony Stewart. Tonight is our very first live. Yay! Our very first live. I wish I had I do have something in here. Hang on. My very first live. And thank you. And I brought on one of my guys who is one of the most profound thinkers that I know out here in Vegas, Mr. Aaron Pharr. Welcome to the show, Coach.
What's up, brother? What's up? Thanks for having me on to your first live event. Appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Man, the first live. I hope we get some participation, because today or tonight we're going back and we're going to talk about integration and segregation, because your boy Trump has got it in the news again, right? Your boy Trump, right. Man, Trump is signing all kind of ish, and he's bringing all of the kind of like what we expected, right? He says make America great again, but we all know, at least black people know what he means, right?
Right.
Yeah, so and I'm going to have an interesting take, and I think it might surprise some people, but I hope they can stay with us. The number to call in.
Sure.
Let me give them the number real quick to call in. If they can see it on the screen, 702-946-92 in about 10 minutes or so. Hopefully we got some people to call in. But what do you say, Coach?
I just say, hey, this is going to be a great, interesting topic. I'm most definitely looking forward to hear what your slant is on it. Yeah, I mean, I guess now when they say make America great again, we know exactly what that means. It means going back to the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Right. I guess that's when they felt like America was good.
Right. I mean, that's basically what it seems like that's what he's trying to do. And then you look at this Department of Education deal, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of that has some nuances in it that a lot of people don't know. We're not going to touch into that. Might be another one, but it's just a lot of stuff that he's doing. But as far as this, remember we did a video some months ago on did Martin get it wrong? Remember that one?
Yeah.
And we were trying to get into that, and it got cut short a little bit. But basically, my take on it is, unfortunately, in their, I won't say haste, but in their despair, maybe is a good word for it, to get out of the brutality and everything that was going on back then. They wanted, look, we need to integrate. We don't want this separate facilities stuff and all of that. We don't want it. So in a sense, I can dig it, right? I can see where they would want that. It's just that if you fast forward to today, nothing has changed basically.
Yeah, I mean, well,
let me start real quick. Except for the signs, no colors, no this, no that, and going through the back door. Except that stuff, but the meat and potatoes.
To be honest with you, my brother, I think at the end of the day, we were, and when I mean we, I mean, as us being the so-called slaves, we were trying to make America live up to what it said in the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
That and it created equal, and everybody has a free right to freedom. That's what it says. That's basically what it says. And we were trying to say, well, if that's what it says in the Constitution, then yeah, integration should be okay, because that's what this country was built on. That's what the Constitution says. But
except for there was a part of it that said that we weren't even a whole human.
But it didn't say that in the Constitution. That was as far as just us being counted as how many votes a certain state would get. But that was never, it said all men. It didn't say white man. It didn't say black man. It didn't say brown. It said all men are created equal. So I think we went off the premise of if that's what the Constitution says, then of course we should all be together. We should all be here without, like you said, the signs of no colors at the water fountain or back of the bus or back, so on and so forth. So we were trying to make America be great based off its Constitution. Little
live up to
that we
that we're kind of still in the same boat. So here's some parsing, right? Here's some real, let's parse out. So integration is what we wanted, but assimilation is what we got. And so I went ahead, I took the liberty, right, to go ahead and look up the definition. Integration focuses on creating a cohesive society where diverse groups maintain their unique identities and contribute equally, right? While assimilation involves minority groups adopting the dominant culture, potentially at the expense of their own. I would argue the latter is what happened.
Yes, sir. I would most definitely agree with that definition. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, and now with the focus of, and I don't want to get away from what we're talking about, with the focus of with this DI stuff that they've created, I guess now their thing is everybody should be called an American. That's what DI is supposed to be getting away from. Like with the situation with Jackie Robinson having some of his stuff taken off a website, they corrected it. Right. But they're saying it should be he was an American. Okay.
He wasn't an American?
No, that he was an American. It shouldn't say he was a Black American. Okay. You and I, we have no problem with that.
Right.
We wasn't that labeled ourselves the first Black this or the first Black that. That's what that was something you guys created. It was because of segregation.
That's right. Your audio is breaking a little bit, Coach. I don't know if you need to get closer or what.
Yeah. How's that?
But go ahead. That's good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Segregation. That's why you came with the first Black this, the first Black that, the first Cuban this, the first Puerto Rican this. It was because of, once again, like you just brought up, no Blacks at the water fountain.
Right.
No Blacks in front of the So it had to be created saying the first Black this because of it was segregated.
Right.
But we want to make it be what America was supposed to be, which is, like Martin Luther King said, I heard someone say.
Right.
Oh, man.
And I read somewhere.
So that's
I read somewhere.
So all we're asking is, we're asking you to respect your paperwork.
Yeah.
Respect the paperwork. The paperwork is what it is. It doesn't have to be the first Black teacher. It could have been whoever the first Black teacher was, just their name.
Right.
But you made it that way when you separated yourself with Jim Crow laws. You made it that way when you separated yourself with signs and barriers. You did that, not us. So we're, like you said, assimilating. We have to assimilate the rules that you guys have made up, and we're under those rules.
Right. Segregation, right? What did it actually do? It made us create like Black Wall Street.
Yes, it did.
Right?
Yes, it did.
Because they weren't allowing us over here. So we created our own thing. Now, that's where I'm starting. That's where I'm transitioning to at this moment. If you want to go ahead and do away with the banning segregated facilities, okay, that's probably gonna start a ball rolling because he's doing it in the federal government. He can't do it in the private sector, but the private sector normally follows, right, the federal government.
Right.
So if that's the case, you know what I say? Bring it on. Bring it on. And I'm going to play this tape if I can find it real quick. I got it queued up. Problem is, since it's my first one, I gotta make sure that I get it right. But there's this female. It's a TikTok, right? man, and she was running this thing down. And she's like, yeah, go ahead, do it. Because you know why? I want the government to force us to have to work with each other. Here it is. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Here it is, right here.
So what's your take?
Bring back segregation.
100% disagree.
Dead and bring it back. I want to know where I'm not welcome, okay? Put them signs back up. Coloreds only, whites only. Let's do it, all right? Rip the Band-Aid off. Especially for a restaurant. Are you kidding me? Whites only? What do I want to do in there? Black people spend over $1 trillion a year. I would love for the government to force us to spend it on our own people.
This is very good.
Yeah,
I like this a lot.
And while we at it, bring back sundown towns. They never left, but...
What's that?
Well, a sundown town was back in the day during Jim Crow where black people weren't allowed to be in a town after the sunset.
Wow.
So those towns never left. They still exist in America, but they took the signs down. I want them to put the signs back up. I wanted to say 248 miles to the next town that likes colored people. Get your gas in Atlanta. Don't stop till you get to Savannah, all right?
I'm with her.
He with me.
You know what? Now, did she not? Now, I edited it a little bit, but did she not succinctly say exactly what actually? Huh?
No, I was going to say, you know what, brother? That was a great video. The only thing was I didn't get the audio. I didn't have a chance to hear it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Man, I wish you could have. See, that's what happened, folks, when you go live for the first time. But what she was saying was that.
Don't worry about it. Get it right.
What she was saying basically was, I'll tell you what she was saying. But actually, it had the CC, right? The closed caption there. But basically, she says, I want to know what restaurants don't want me to come in there. I put the signs up.
Right.
That way I don't have to go. I don't have to pretend. And a lot of people used to say, and a lot of people that vote for Trump, black people that vote for Trump, that's what they said, right? And initially I was like, that's stupid. But now I wouldn't vote for Trump, but I see what they said, what they were saying when they said, listen, he's telling me to my face. If he's going to tell me to my face that he don't like me, that's what I want to hear.
Right.
I don't want these people over here that's going to lie in my face and do the same thing behind my back.
I agree with that.
So yeah. So you know what? Bring it on, because I think she's right. She said the government would force black people to have to spend money within ourselves. Isn't that something? Trump could actually do something that we've been unable to do all these years since Black Wall Street. If he put in these policies and the public sector follows him and it goes back to segregation, it's not going to be the same as it was before, where they're rounding us up and hanging us and doing all that. No, it ain't going to be that. But it's probably going to be that we're going to say, all right, we're going to create our own NBA. We're going to, you know what I'm saying? I'm just using that as an example. We're going to do this. We need our own banks now. We need our own grocery stores. I think she's right that would force us to do for ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that it's a conversation off camera that you and I have had a few times on this topic and said that same thing. And I think that wholeheartedly. I mean, I think that our generation and then the generation that we're under, and maybe the ones that are below us in the last, I say maybe another 5 to 7 years, who all grew up under that, they crave for that. They want that back. They want back their neighborhood. They want back their neighborhood park. They want back their neighborhood school. They want to be at the school where the teachers knew, the students, and the students knew the teachers, and the parents knew the teachers because they were going to the same churches and the same doctors, seeing each other.
The police force in the same neighborhood.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, this system is a capitalist system, and we all know what that means. But it's still based off of neighborhood and family. And we lost that neighborhood and family because we have tried to put ourselves, you and I have, our parents did, friends that we know. We try to put ourselves in better situations. We try to put our kids in. But that is us saying, well, let's leave West Las Vegas alone.
Right.
Or North Las Vegas. Let's leave Gary, Indiana alone, which there was a YouTube video I seen on Gary, Indiana the other day that, man, broke my heart. Because they was talking about all the poverty and all these abandoned houses and vacant houses and schools that still got desks and books and things inside that are just abandoned.
I'm telling you, Coach, let me just stop right there. Integration is what killed that, in my opinion.
No. I think it's an opinion that if anybody came live right now, I think that they would probably agree with us. And most definitely when you post this and you're going to be getting those comments, I think a lot of people are going to be saying that on both sides of the aisle, black and white, both sides of the aisle. I'm not mad at anyone that wants to be around people they're familiar with. I'm not mad about it.
Right.
I don't see anything wrong with that. Because why do you want to be around someone that you would say, oh, I got to lock up my door because they may rob me, or, oh, the kid was walking by me, so I had to clutch my purse. If that's the way you're going to think, I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be around anything like that. I don't want to work a job where I'm around people that are just saying, oh, we need you here to work, but they don't like me. They got these stereotypes about you and I as black. I don't want to be around that.
Right.
I don't. And then protecting our kids to that. Yeah.
And we shouldn't have to be around that. But I'm telling you, I keep saying integration, but assimilation. I gotta start using that word. We assimilated.
That's powerful.
Yeah, we didn't.
Definitely breaking down that definition has let us know, man, that we are mentally abused. We've been mentally abused by the power structure. And we have so much internal trauma that we have to deal with from dealing with this power structure. And like Malcolm said, he said, hey, I'm not against what Dr. King is saying with integration. I just think that we should stay segregated until we get ourselves together, till we learn how to love ourselves before we start trying to be in somebody else's business and in somebody else's neighborhood. And here we are 60 years later. That's the problem we're having right now. That's the problem.
Because we haven't learned what you just said, that what Malcolm said, that we haven't learned how to love ourselves. Now, I always do a off ramp or an exit ramp, which is to say that it's not all our fault. We've been through a lot, brother.
Oh, yeah.
Mentally and physically over these 200-300 years. That a mere 60 years is not going to do it, right? So, we got a long way to go. So it's not. So once we figure out, it's almost like going to AA, right? You got to admit, you know what? There's some things I admit, and one of the things we should admit is that no one is pointing a finger at you because it's not entirely your fault. There are all of these circumstances and things that happen over the generations and generations that it's kind of ingrained in us to a degree. Excuse me. And it takes some real purposeful thinking to get out of it, right? And so, and will everybody get out? No. Everybody ain't gonna, like they say, like the old folks say, everybody ain't gonna make it to the pearly gates, right?
Yes, sir.
It's just a fact that everybody won't make it. Just because one person did, and white folks they like to hold up one Negro. Look, he made it. Why can't you make it? Well, then we should do the same thing. How come there's so much poverty in rural white America? And you all have all the advantages.
Yeah, all the advantages. Exactly. Because of DEI, Coach.
Huh?
Because of DEI.
It's because of DEI. Okay, DEI.
You taking all jobs.
You know what I'm saying? All DEI did, which was what it's supposed to do, was, again, it's a relic of assimilation, right? And we were quite qualified, and we are quite qualified. We just weren't given a chance. We weren't being called to interview, or if some of us did interview, we weren't being hired. Doesn't mean that we weren't qualified. In fact, in most cases, we were overqualified. We just weren't getting the job.
That's what's so funny about that, what you just said. I mean, just look at what you said, is that at a time when it was real segregation, and we had people knocking down the doors of said segregation, they were knocking those doors down because of what you just said. They were overqualified. Now you're going to say in these last 60 years that these people are working and now they're underqualified, is what you're trying to say.
Right. Yeah, is what they're trying to do.
At the end of the day, just say what it is you're really just trying to say. You don't think that people of color, black, brown, Hindu, whatever you want to say, deserves a job over this qualified, so-called qualified white male. That's all you're trying to say. That's all it comes down to. But once again, these are your rules. These are your rules. H-1B visa that a lot of foreigners and everything have in our communities that have allowed them to buy car washes, liquor stores, own the little corner 7-Elevens, all these things based off of H-1B visas. Now, I just heard about H-1B visas that allowed them to do that. Why wasn't that ever told to us? So that we could keep that stuff into our own community. But see, these are you've made because at the end of the day, the one other race that started this country with you, even though we were the so-called help that started with you, instead of you cultivating that relationship with us, you went out here and got foreigners to come in and do the things that you would not allow us to do, and then you're going to say we don't want nothing, or we lazy, and we all these different things. But you creating all the opportunities for everybody else, and then you go say, "Oh no, Anthony Stewart, no Aaron Pharr, you can go down and go apply for a small business loan." That's a piece of crap. That's a piece of crap. I can qualify for one, but I got to have myself, my co-signer, they co-signer, they blood type, they DNA type. Everybody got to have a 900 credit score. I got to make $1,000 a year. I got to have all these qualifications, and you're trying to tell me that somebody that's coming from India has those qualifications. That's a goddamn lie. You
forgot about counting the jelly beans in the jar. How many is in there? Guessing how. 702-900-4692. If you want to join the conversation, please call in 702-900-4692. Yeah, you forgot to. How many jelly beans are in this jar?
Exactly. Let me go back in the back and go talk to my manager. And y'all sitting back there laughing and joking, and you come back and tell me what I already knew you were going to tell me before you even come back.
Right.
Why is it in our neighborhoods, all these stores and everything not owned by, I'm not even saying it's wrong for them to be in the neighborhood. I'm not saying that. But in our neighborhood, not one black person owns it.
Yeah.
And if they do,
you know what?
Here it comes. I'm sorry, Coach. Here they come with this big old thing once again. Oh, the first black that owns a 7-Eleven.
I know. They're always racializing stuff and then turn around and say, why are you being racial?
Yeah, exactly. Why I got to be the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl?
Right.
I don't know.
It's crazy, man.
You know, I mean,
you know what, Dr. What's his name? Umar Johnson?
Yeah,
is that his name?
He's,
I listened to him, and one thing he says, he enumerates, we don't have a we don't have a black owned, we do have a couple black owned banks, I do believe, but we don't have black owned grocery store. and we don't have hospitals, and we don't have our own school system, and 4 essential things that's needed for us really to survive.
Exactly. I don't know if you heard, but MJ has opened up his 4th healthcare center in North Carolina.
Okay.
But with that being said, like you just said, the pool of Black doctors, let's say they all pool together the way that they do, and say they want to open up their own doctor's office. Well, once again, they got to get a loan.
Right.
And they won't approve them for the loans.
Right.
So somebody said, "Oh, I got approved for it." Yeah, you got approved for it.
Right.
So it's not just that we're talking here about integration and segregation. It's that it went from the signs on the wall, no colors allowed, to it went to economic racism, economic segregation. And that's where we are. We're at economic segregation.
Oh, and we've been there. Yeah. I mean, I would say we've been there for a while. When you think about redlining,
Right.
zip codes, even social security numbers.
Exactly.
Pinpoints where you're from.
Right.
And so there's a lot of ways that they can disenfranchise us.
Yeah.
And that we don't necessarily think about or even know about in a lot of ways. But let's get on this part about voting, because I wanted to say this, and I don't know that I've put it out or if I said it tonight. We vote mainly for white people, right?
Right.
So, and again, I know I said this earlier. If both sides lie, if white people and Black people lie, right? But we've been voting for white people all this time, basically, and we still don't have anything. The question becomes, in my mind, is why are you still voting for white people? Now, let me paint a picture if I can. If you were, if there was a white family invited you to dinner and there's a Black family invited you to dinner, culturally, which family do you think is going to have more of what you want to eat?
The Black family.
The Black family. Now, is that 100% of the time? I'll say no.
Right.
But I'll say it's a higher percentage of the time that they'll have what you want to eat over the white family.
Right.
Now, so if that's just one example, why don't I just extrapolate that out to voting? If there's a Black person running and a white person running, what percentage do you think culturally that they would be more aligned with you? Or should I let me phrase it another way? Do you think that they would be more aligned with you than the white family, just strictly culturally? And that answer is yes. Now, then you say, well, I'm not voting just because they're Black. No, I would say the way I'm explaining it, you're not voting just because they're Black. You're voting it because culturally they are more in line with you. They just happen to be Black. There might be a white person or two out there that's culturally, because guess what? They probably were raised with Blacks.
Exactly.
That's culturally more in line with you. So it's not necessarily a Black and white thing. It's a culture thing.
Exactly.
And so I would submit, if you're saying we haven't gotten anything all these years and you've been voting for white people, then why don't you try somebody else that's more in line with you culturally and just vote for them up and down the ticket? 702-900-4692. I wish somebody would come on and talk about what is wrong with that premise.
And I think that's a great premise. And as you were talking, I was just writing down some things here. The thing of the matter is that what you just said culturally. So now, culturally, who has been the president in the last 40 years? White or black, that was culturally close to our culture? I would say Bill Clinton. Now,
Bill, yeah, you could throw Bill. You could definitely throw Bill in there. I would say Obama, but
yeah,
you could throw Bill in there.
Right, but I wanted to throw Bill Clinton in there to just say how he, as a white man, culturally was close to our culture. That's why he won in the landslide. Now, what you just said is so true about the black politicians, but a lot of them, as black people, have given up their culture to assimilate to what they think is how they should be to get a vote that you're never going to get. So
I
would want to be more closer to his culture to get those votes instead of turning off the black voter, because even though they may be black, they're still talking and acting like something they're not.
Right. And what I would say to that is it's not going to be 100% if you vote that way that they're going to be aligned with your culture. What I'm saying is that the chances are higher, much higher, that they will, as opposed to the other side. That's all I'm saying, that the chances are much higher. So yeah, but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely correct on that, because there's a lot of brothers out there that.
Right. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of brothers who I would say, as a black man, I would love to vote for them. Yeah. But if I heard them, their policies, the way they talk, everything, the way that they act, the things they said, and I didn't see their face, I'm voting for that person. So I wouldn't. So that goes back to something you and I have said, and something you just brought up a little while ago about the mental and the assimilation. What it comes down to is that we, as black people here in America, we have Stockholm syndrome. That's what we have. And the definition, and I'll read it for you real quick, is if the signs of Stockholm syndrome are when people experiencing this might start to sympathize with their abusers and even feel that they are in the right. They might also start to internalize and rationalize physical and emotional abuse, believing that they deserve it. So I think we, since we've known each other over these last 7-8 years, and we've talked about this, is I would love for not just you and I, but for anyone that would come across our platform, or for anyone that's out here talking, let's take our conversation away and put it really on what it is. We're dealing with mental, emotional, and physical abuse.
Yes.
And me as a veteran, they allowed me to go to the VA because I was in a war to go talk about my PTSD. Yeah. But you're not allowing black people to talk about their PTSD.
That's right. Because they don't now. See, you're taking me down another rabbit hole, Coach. And because I feel like that's because they don't want to teach Black history. If you taught Black history, all of that would start to come into focus.
Right.
And they don't want that to come in. They don't want that to come into focus. You mentioned PTSD. There was this doctor, I forget her name right now, that I was listening to some time ago on YouTube. She calls it post-traumatic slave disorder.
I like
post-traumatic slave. Yeah.
I like
post-traumatic slave disorder.
I have to steal that one.
Yes. And I'll send you. I'm gonna send you the. I'll send you the video too, because she lays it out.
I want to make sure I cite her whenever I'm talking. I don't want to just act like that. I want to make sure I cite her, because that's powerful. Because once again, we have a school shooter. You and I work in schools. they have a school shooter. And the first thing they'll come out with after they find out something about him, oh, he was this, he was bullied, and then these things happened, and then his mama didn't hug him enough when he was a baby. But you and I have to look at blacks being hung. We have to look at blacks that were killed, aka Malcolm, Martin, on television.
That's right, Trayvon Martin, a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, right. So we have to see this on a constant and a daily basis. And then we are, once again, not giving the grace that you so much ask us to give you. So once again, all we're asking is go by the rule and the law that you have written down. And why are you? Because I don't even know if you heard your boy Stephen A. the other day. Stephen A. was talking to Bill O'Reilly on News Nation. And Stephen A. told him, hey, man, look, you guys have always said respect the Constitution. Now you guys are saying don't respect the Constitution. Because your guy is saying the Constitution is wrong. So why do we keep moving the goalposts?
Keep moving the goalposts, man.
If the stop sign say stop, I'm supposed to stop. It's simple as that. If they say, oh man, we created equal, that's what they said. Now, at the time, they were all slave owners. But even Thomas Jefferson said, we're going to have to deal with this because he knew what we just said. All men are created equal. We're going to have to deal with that. So if all men are created equal, what is the conversation about?
They don't believe their own writing, which is the reason what's going on now is that Trump is kind of like usurping or he's undermining the Constitution right now. But see, because they're the dominant and they were the ones that came up with the document, they feel like they can move the goalposts, they can change it, right? There's one thing that was on my mind before we wrap it up. In the video, you didn't hear it, but she's talked about sundown cities. And she said, bring back sundown cities. And the guy was like, well, what's that? And I just wanted to correct one thing. She said during Jim Crow, but I believe sundown cities, when it was really happening, was from 1900s until like 1960. But I think it wasn't necessarily during Jim Crow, sundown city. But anyway, we didn't get any call-ins today or tonight, but that don't mean we're not going to get them the next time.
I mean it at all, brother. I mean, this was a great conversation, man. Thank you for bringing me on. I really appreciate you, man.
I want you to,
and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, I'm always wanting you to come on. I know you've been busy and coaching basketball, and season is over and all football. You were doing football, and I don't know. They probably want you to do volleyball. Ain't no telling what else they want you.
They had me doing all the balls, man. I'm balled out, man.
So now you're able to get back on, man, and we can definitely have these discussions. I'm looking forward to it. So,
all right, brother. Well, thank you.
Man, no problem, and thank you all for watching. And leave us comments and just tell us what you think, and because we love it, and we will definitely respond. Till then, peace.